Hey guys, I had to share this with you. So my wife came to me when I was in the garage earlier this morning, and she looked at my bike and she said, "Your bike's like it's in hospital, it's all covered up and it's got an intravenous drip on it." I had to laugh at that. But it does look like that. The bike is all covered, the blankie's up, and then there's a drip on the clutch cable. So there's a story behind this, right? When I bought the bike, the clutch felt a little bit sticky, and I was never happy with it. Most of my older bikes, especially with the clutch cables, they tend to wear around the hole, and the clutch sticks a little bit because the cable gets a little bit gunked up inside. And also there's a bit of play on the pin. Unfortunately, the Harley's got an interesting system in it. The catch that holds the cable is actually plastic. Not really my idea of how I would do it, so I machined a steel one instead. The reason why I prefer steel as opposed to plastic is we did a little bit of research when I was doing mechanisms at a company that I worked for, and what would happen was the grit would actually impregnate into the plastic, and the plastic would wear away the steel, which is counterintuitive. If we changed those steel pins in those days, what we were using, or the plastic pins to steel, we actually found that the wear decreased because you wouldn't get this grit embedment in the plastic that wore away the steel components. Also, weird thing with Harley is the actual brake lever housing had countersunks on both sides. So at some point the design was to actually lock the pin. But my pin had a lot of movement in, and it had a plastic sleeve on, which again I did not like. So I changed the pin to have a taper or countersunk on both sides, so that the pin locked, the pin doesn't move. And then I put a brass sleeve, press fitted a brass sleeve into the handle itself. Now that to me works a lot better than what a Harley had, and I think I know why they did it. It was probably because the plastic feels a bit softer, but the problem is there's so much play after a while, it's not great. And also the wear becomes a problem. Then of course, how do you sort out a gunked clutch cable? A lot of guys have these weird adapters that they put on the clutch cable, and then they hydraulically push oil into the cable, and that just seems like a lot of effort to me. So I came up with the following method of doing it, and I've used this many times on my vintages. It works really, really well, and it's so cheap and simple. All you do is you take a syringe, you take a needle, you break the sharp point off of the needle, you clip it with the side cutters, you clip the end off, and then you just sand the end open with some 600 grit. And then you fill up that, or you press the end of the needle sort of flatter. You need to make sure that it stays open, right? And then you bend it like you want to bend it. It goes into the cable, and then you just fill up the syringe with oil, and then you put it on the bike and you leave it. Like in my case, you put the bike under a nice cozy blanket. You put the syringe in the cable in an upward position, and you just let it lie like that for an hour or two. All of that oil will flush out the cable beautifully. And because you use gearbox oil, that'll just go into the gearbox. Then right at the end, you open up the gearbox. You just make sure that there's no horrible stuff in the gearbox, and if you do need, you just suck it out with the same syringe and a piece of pipe. And that's how you do it. The easiest way to do it. You don't need to buy any fancy stuff. Perfect. Of course, if you don't want to strip off the cable off the bike, and you want to do it at a later time without greasing the components, which is, I'm greasing the components now, but if you don't want to do it at a later point and the components are still greased fine, then there's another way of doing it where you don't even need to take the cable out. And I've taken a photograph. This is what the setup will look like then. Also very, very easy. You just cable tie the clutch in an open position, so towards the handle, and then you stick the needle into the cable. You make sure that the bike handlebars fully turned to the right, and it's in an upward position, so that the oil will slowly sleep down, sort of go down the cable into the clutch. And that's it. That is a $5 solution to oiling a cable without getting all of these funny adapters and all sorts of nonsense that they sell on eBay and all of that. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm going to let my bike sit for a while it intravenously feeds through the cable. So I think I'm going to go have lunch or something. Thanks for watching, guys.